Let me tell you about a CEOI coach. Brilliant woman diagnosed with ADHD at 47. She showed up one day for a session, nearly in tears, saying, I just spent 6 hours creating a strategic plan that I know I'll never look at again. Sound familiar? Here's what nobody tells ADHD executives about strategic planning. The way you've been taught to plan, linear, sequential, milestone based, it's like asking a jazz musician to play by reading binary code. Sure, you might force your way through it, but you're working against every natural strength you have. Traditional planning assumes your brain processes strategy in neat, orderly sequences. Step one leads to step two, leads to step three. But that's not how ADHD brains create strategy. We don't think in lines. We think in webs, in constellations, in sudden connections that seem random to others but make perfect sense to us. When you force yourself into linear planning frameworks, you're not just uncomfortable. You're literally suppressing your brain's strategic superpower. That ability to see patterns others miss, to connect seemingly unrelated dots, to instantly know something's off, even if you can't articulate why yet, that's systems thinking. That's what organizations desperately need, and that's exactly what dies in a traditional planning session. Here's what forcing linear planning actually costs you. First, there's the energy drain. You know that exhausted feeling after trying to complete a traditional strategic plan? That's your brain working 3 times as hard to translate your natural thinking into an unnatural format. Second, you lose insights. When you're so focused on filling in the boxes in order, you miss the connections your brain is trying to make. Third, and this is the one that hurts most, you start doubting your strategic ability. Your brain recognizes patterns in ways that linear thinkers simply can't access. When you see 5 separate market trends and instantly know they're connected, that's not luck. That's your ADHD brain doing what it does best, processing massive amounts of information simultaneously and finding the patterns that matter. It's like trying to understand a spider web by looking at each strand individually instead of seeing the whole pattern. Your brain naturally sees the whole web. Think about when your best strategic insights come to you. I'm betting it's not during the quarterly planning meeting. It's at 3 a.m. when you suddenly see how 3 different problems are actually one problem. It's in the shower when you realize what your competitor is missing. It's during a completely unrelated conversation when the perfect solution just appears. That's not a bug in your operating system. That's the feature. One of my clients put it perfectly. I always thought I was bad at strategy because I couldn't make those neat PowerPoints with arrow diagrams. Then I realized I wasn't bad at strategy. I was bad at their way of displaying strategy. My strategy was actually 3 levels deeper because I could see connections they couldn't. Others see chaos. You see connections. That's your strategic superpower. So here's my invitation to you. And yes, this might feel radical. What if you stopped apologizing for how your brain approaches strategy? What if instead of forcing yourself into frameworks that drain you, you designed planning approaches that energize you? The permission you've been waiting for, here it is. You can plan visually instead of linearly. You can capture insights whenever they come. You can think in webs, not lists. You can trust your pattern recognition. You can let strategy evolve. You don't need to learn to plan better. You need to plan differently. Stop forcing yourself into Gantt charts, numbered lists, and rigid timelines. Start using mind maps, flexible frameworks, and visual planning tools that actually match how your brain works. Your strategic thinking is not the problem. The framework is the problem. What if your scattered thinking is actually systems thinking? What if your inability to focus on linear plans is actually your brain refusing to oversimplify complexity? What if your procrastination on planning documents is actually wisdom, knowing that rigid plans don't survive first contact with reality? First, recognize your patterns, then release those linear expectations. Finally, redesign your approach. Your scattered thinking isn't a limitation, it's systems thinking. And in today's complex, interconnected business world, that's exactly the kind of strategic thinking organizations need. Your brain doesn't need fixing, the planning process does. Ready to learn to plan in a way that actually works for your brain? Let's continue to part B.